This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
Welcome in to the Sports Source Digital Network, brought to you by Hearthside Bank. This is an episode of 5 Questions, a very special episode. It's like an after-school special. It's a very special episode of 5 Questions, which, of course, is brought to you by Games and Things. You see back there, I think you can see, there's a sign that says Games and Things Arena, because you can get everything you see here. You can take our game room and put it in your game room by visiting ourgameroom.com. That's Games and Things. Poker table, Pop-A-Shot, dartboard, boss toss, jukebox, shuffleboard, they got it all. Games and Things. And I am joined by John Wilkerson. That's not why this is a special episode, though. It's always special when you're around, but it's a special episode because it's all baseball, and it's all Tony Vitello and UT, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Been kind of a wild week. Yep. A few weeks back, we brought up this story that The Athletic had put out there, and we all kind of went, oh, it's never happened before, it won't happen again, or it won't happen now. Well, it happened.
Yes,
so
it did.
Tony Vitello to the San Francisco Giants, and I got 5 questions for you, the voice of the Vols. Although you're just answering on behalf of John Wilkerson today, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We don't have an earpiece from Danny White or anything. All right. Question 1, there's been talk that Tony Vitello wanted more resources. My guess is there's not a coach over there that doesn't want more resources, but there was talk that he wanted more resources dedicated to baseball. I have personally been told that Vitello felt Kim Caldwell, as a Danny White hire, was getting a little bit more love than he was getting. I think that's probably natural for somebody to always feel like somebody else is getting a pat on the back when I'm not, or whatever, especially when somebody hired the other person, they didn't hire you. But I've been told those were issues. Danny White came out very strongly in his press conference, we did it right down the pipe. My question for you, do you think UT did everything it possibly could to keep Tony Vitello around?
I do. And because I do think that there wasn't a whole lot that you hadn't done. And then also, I never heard any kind of discourse like that. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm just telling you, I never experienced it or encountered it in my time around the program. Correct. And so I do think that Tennessee baseball receives a great amount of support. And the fact that it's full scholarships for all 34 that you can have, and it's also all 34 have cost of attendance tied to it. And I think that's really not as much you can do, almost as much as you can do. And so whether it comes down to the allocation of what he said was 5% for women's basketball and then 5% for everyone else that's not men's basketball and Tennessee football, then sure, there's going to be a pecking order. But I also think that Tennessee baseball has a ton of support in regards to guys that either wore the uniform a long time ago, or guys, it's really impressive how you'll have a draft class that goes, and then it's almost like a senior class leaving high school. They'll say, what can we do for the program? Yeah. Here, we're going to get everybody these cleats. We're going to get everybody beats. I mean, so I just really think there's great support for that.
People like to eat beats?
I don't believe that there was anything that Tennessee failed to offer that wasn't already on the table, because I just think that this is a conversation you could have 100 times, and 100 times get the same answer, but you get into that 0.5%, and this was the time that, unfortunately, it led to Tennessee now being under a coach's search.
Yeah, and certainly you have one-on-one discussions. You know Tony Vitello. I've talked to people who know him as well, and I've been told that there were concerns that, well, there's more money here than there is for me. And we talked about this over the summer when this House settlement came down. The problem with the House settlement is every coach is now going to be looking around saying, well, what's he get? It's like if you got a family of 5 or 6 kids having dinner, how come he got more peas than I did? Or why did I get stuck with more peas than he did, depending? Right. I mean, I just think there's going to be some of that. And I think that's natural, too, for somebody to feel that way. Even though he never said it to you, I have had people that have told me they did feel like he felt more could have been given to his program. But at the same time, I agree that you've got to look at where the revenue is. Mm-hmm. And this is also a women's basketball school. Even though it hasn't been recently, that's, it was UConn and UT. You got Old Dominion back in the old days. and La Tech. But this is going to be a school that always puts money into women's basketball. So I think any coach needs to just go ahead and realize that, whether that's softball coach, whether that's baseball coach, the swimming coach, there's going to be, in this, the way it's set up, you've only got X amount of dollars. You're going to have to divvy it some way.
Mm-hmm.
I think any coach is going to have to be aware of that.
I do think that the greatest frustration for Tony Vitello since the end of last season has been much more with the NCAA and the reshaping of rosters and what players, how many you can have.
Right.
I think that has been the biggest burr under his saddle. And that's just because, like other programs, Tennessee had essentially a junior varsity, that there were guys that were able to work on their game that didn't count against what was the roster that they carried into competition. And since the House settlement came out, it's like, we're going to give you 3 times essentially as many scholarships as you've been getting, but only those.
Yes.
That's how many spots you can have, and there was just a small window to grandfather in an additional 5 spots, and there were more spots than that, which I think was just he really struggled in terms of just trying to make it make sense, because he thought, what's the problem with giving guys this opportunity? So I think that was much more of a frustration than perhaps what he encountered in terms of the Tennessee administration.
Very good. Question number 2. This is easy. Who replaces him? It is interesting. Frank Anderson was named the interim coach, but Danny White specifically said, we want Josh Elander to spend time working on his interview, preparing his presentation to us, blah, 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 blah. A lot of Vols, a lot of former Vols came out loudly on social media saying, Josh Elander, it's got to be Josh Elander. Danny White says he'll conduct a national search. I don't doubt that for a second. But I do think when you got that many people saying it's got to be Josh Elander, it's a real good chance, in my opinion, it's going to be Josh Elander. Your thoughts?
I want it to be Josh Elander. I mean, more than anything, because it's one thing if it's somebody who's been there for a part of it. It's another thing altogether. This has been his entire coaching experience. I mean, other than being a staffer at Arkansas for 1 year and then coming to Tennessee with Tony, I just think that what Josh Elander has done, I mean, he earned the role, rightly so, of associate head coach. And you look at the times that it was either Ross Kivett or Frank Anderson or Tony Vitello that had been ejected from a game and was not available the next day, or there was a suspension involved. He's the one that has been the glue guy. And so he engineers Tennessee's offense, and so he knows that aspect of it. You hear the catchers that work with him as their position coach. They love him. You talk to Tennessee's hitters that work with him because he does that. They love him. And so there were even VFLs that didn't play for Josh Elander that were saying, it's obvious to me, this is the guy. Yeah. And so as much as Danny White seems to value the input of current student athletes, when there has been a coaching change or a coaching search takes place, I really think that, yes, he's going to hear a similar refrain from those that are right now going through fall ball. And then I think it's going to be a significant check in Elander's favor that he's got the support of those guys that have been there, maybe just 1 year, year one, and those guys that were a part of all the success.
Okay, let me flip this for question 3. Tons of people will want this job. Josh Elander certainly would jump at it. There's no question. You're going to take it. But to play devil's advocate, there's an old adage, never replace the legend. And not only had Tony Vitello won here more than Rod Delmonico went to multiple College World Series. I don't want to undercut what he did. But it wasn't as consistent, upper level, just steady as she goes, the way that Tony Vitello built it. But not only did he have this winning record, and really he didn't stick around long enough for it to ever dip. So there's even with Bruce Pearl, there was a little bit of a dip there at the end. But with him, it's been steady. It's been top of the country. It was a national championship, which you'd never achieved. And he has that cult of personality that Bruce Pearl had. So never follow a legend is part of it. But you're also talking about a guy who is beloved. He's the hero. And as Conzo Martin found out, when the hero becomes available again, this place will put a petition together and say, bring the hero back. Yeah, but you've got to hit. We don't care. Bring the hero back. Tony Vitello we'll talk about what he's walking into. It's unprecedented.
Correct.
So let's flip a coin. 50%, 50-50 that he makes it, 50-50 he washes out. If he washes out in San Francisco, there are going to be Vol fans who will immediately say, bring him back. So my question to you is, for Josh Elander, for whoever, should they be considering the fact that there's danger in taking this job?
First of all, you have to match the success. So there is that, and it's like,
Yeah.
can you fill these shoes? And I do think in just the nuts and bolts baseball approach, I think it'd be much easier to do that than, as you also mentioned, the cult of personality. Because I think what makes Tony as likable as he is because, one, he doesn't take everything so seriously. I mean, without a doubt, it is live or die when it's time to play.
Right, between the lines, he takes it seriously.
That's right. And sometimes it can be difficult to get past what is a setback, but he is also somebody that works on the mental side of things, that he'll take a break by just streaming a television show for a break as he's trying to go to sleep or something along those lines. And he's always got movies and things that are there because that's just what he enjoys doing when he's not locked into baseball, as he seemingly is 24/7. But I just think that he's got a great personality that, one, it isn't always so serious. There are moments where there can be laughter, and there are moments where it's just he's completely transparent. It's not as though, because he'll say, well, the reason we didn't win this game is because we didn't do this, this, and this. And I just think all of that, he's so comfortable in his skin with what he does and who he is. I just think that is probably very rare in the coaching world. And I do think that Josh Elander might have a little bit more protection than just Coach X, who comes from somewhere else, because he was a part of it. He has been here for all 8 of those seasons. Yeah. And so I do think that that's what also is going to give the fan base the most hope that you can keep it, that you can sustain what you've built to moving forward. But yeah, it is a huge task because I didn't think there was anybody who could approach what Rod did.
Yeah. Because
you took 3 trips to the College World Series in 10 years. That was pretty sweet. You also had won 2 SEC championships at the start of that run. And to see that it was done and in a shorter period of time and without the peaks and valleys that we did see in terms of the approach to how you fill the roster and everything, I just think that this is another thing that I think shines the spotlight on Elander and Wood. I don't think anybody's going to pause for a second because you see the incredible support, you see the brand new facility, and you see the recent success. Yep. I think coaches say, I can do that too.
Oh, yeah. Coaches don't lack for confidence. So,
correct.
Hey, when Bear Bryant retired, somebody wanted the gig. When Nick Saban retired, somebody jumped at the gig. And he's doing pretty well right now. So, these guys are all going to feel like, I can do it. I just know that Conzo Martin once thought that too. Now, he didn't match the success of Bruce Pearl, and that hurt him. But I don't know, even if he'd matched the success, Pearl was such a figure, such a personality, like Tony Vitello.
Yes.
That I think they would have wanted, as soon as Pearl became available, they wanted him back and they pushed for it. I wouldn't be surprised if Vitello becomes available if they don't push for him to come back. Look, Elander, anybody else would be crazy not to take it.
Correct.
But there's a reason an old adage becomes an old adage.
That's right.
So,
and then also you just to just further underscore, I used to send him text after his post-game interviews and press conferences because it's like, you know what? I've thought about it, and in all the time I've been doing this, I've yet to see another coach that could start with a movie reference in an answer to a question about Chaz Michael Michaels and then also quote Robert Frost.
There you go.
And so, but again, that's how his mind works. You just pull from all of the different things that he's experienced, encountered, and that he thinks and really applies to it. To look at some of the sheets that he would hand his team, it was amazing to look at here's what we're going to focus on, and in this regard to this matchup. And then there would be, here's a clip from this, or here's a quote from this athlete. It was really something to see the broad base from all the information he passed along to his guys to say, here I think are the points that are going to help you meet this weekend's challenge.
Question number 4, let's play off of that. It's unprecedented that a college manager is being hired into a Major League Baseball dugout with no previous pro experience at all. The only thing I can compare this to, and you may have something better, but the only thing I could come up with was Jerry Faust being hired from Moeller High School in Cincinnati to go coach Notre Dame, which at that time was the college football program in this country. I'm not saying he's not going to work out like Jerry Faust. I'm just saying it's that level of, what? Are you serious? So he is now taking he can't take his recruiting skills with him. And that was a good chunk of what he did here. I mean, that's part of it. You don't get to recruit in Major League Baseball. He's going to a place where you're in the same division with we'll just buy another championship LA Dodgers. He's also going to a team that's farm system this year was ranked number 28 out of 30. These are all tough assignments. Now they wanted him because of his motivational skills, his confidence, his arrogance, if you will, that he brings into a locker room. They want to instill that into the Giants. I just wonder, he's not dealing with 20-year-olds anymore. He'll be dealing with men who are men and who make more money than him. So it's going to be interesting over 162 game schedule. How many of these guys are going to take sheets if he tries to do what he did here? How many of these guys are going to go, oh, yeah, this is great? How many of them are going, whatever. I don't know. You better win. If you win, they'll buy it. My question is, all that taken into consideration, it's such a gamble. I don't know that you can give me a straight answer, but how much success do you think he'll have at that level?
It's fair to wonder, and I think that is by far the biggest question. What is it going to be like with the veteran player who's had a ton of money that he's been able to build up over the course of his career and has perhaps some different influences on where he gets his motivation and what drives him? Because that's not always a one-to-one. And what you have when you're the coach at Tennessee like he was, I mean, he's like a rock star.
Yeah.
Every player prospect knew him, whether it was a high school freshman or it was a guy who has 1 year left and he's, where can I finish and do what's best for me and enjoy the most success and just have fun. I mean, that was the vantage point. And so, sure, there's a lot that you can do. I think that your comparison in terms of Faust and making the move to Notre Dame is probably the closest to this is somebody who just has no real notion as to what they're about to walk into. Right. But I do think that it's a much closer step with baseball than it was then in football. To go from high school to college at that day and age was a stark, it's like going from the earth to the moon.
Right.
I don't think it's that kind of a gulf here. Because I do think that you've got athletes. I do think that you've got guys who want to win. And it's also, you appreciate the person that realize, and coaches talk about whose buttons they push, who do they have to push a button, and who should they stay away from, where it's like, they're going to take care of what we give them to do,
right,
and they'll be ready on game day. So just watching him, I go back to his first year here, and it was really something. Tennessee wins more games than they were expected to year one. They have a chance to go to the SEC tournament by winning. Whoever wins the series at Missouri week 10, that's who goes to the SEC tournament in Hoover. But just to watch him, it was the first time I traveled with the team that year. So I got to see on hand when they were going through their warm-ups before the games and things along those, because I would just drive myself. That was what I used to do. But anyhow, what I got to see as they were warming up, it wasn't like he had a different handshake for every guy on the team, but what he had was a different approach to every guy on the team. One was, he would just immediately start in, and it was, ribbing somebody. And then after that, it was kind of like just to check in to see how's this or how's that. Others, it would be perhaps throwing shade towards someone else. So, it was really something to see that he had a different approach with seemingly every single individual that he made a point to talk to as they were getting ready for that practice the night before that first game of the series. So I do think that you can point to, Max Scherzer loves him. He was coached by him at Missouri. They've been great friends ever since. And he says, I know he's going to succeed. And then you look at what he did in fostering a relationship and a very solid friendship with Bryce Harper. So I think that there are so many things in different ways that he can connect, because he knows that not everybody, it's the same approach. And I think that will serve him well. But again, I do think that is the largest question. It's the biggest question coming into it. Can he connect with all of his players, especially the ones that are going to give him the best chance to win? Because not everybody went to college, and not everybody has the same path, obviously, that others had. So that I think will be the most interesting part of this.
Yeah, the concerns aren't really knowing baseball. Clearly knows baseball. Do you think, what we never know about any of these head coaches, how much of it is your assistant coaches?
Right.
Are there, we're going to find out real quick, was he the guy that knew when to make the pitching change? Or was that Frank Anderson who was saying, hey, we need to make a pitching change? Those kinds of things. You're not able to take those guys. You're not going to be taking your college staff to the major league. So he's got to build. That's another question. What's his staff for a guy that has no ties there? But I don't think the concern is with him. It's with all those other people. And I'll give you 2 examples that kind of play off what you just talked about. One, I remember I moved to Columbus, Ohio. For 2 years, I produced the Pat Summitt Show, first 2 years that it was ever on. And she knows basketball. And people, when I moved to Columbus, Ohio, there was talk of her taking over the men's team at one point when it came open. There was talk about what if she could coach the NBA. And my buddies up there just laughed their asses off at the idea. Oh, please. And I told them, I said, she knows basketball just as well as anybody else. She would have no problem coaching men if the men would listen.
Yes.
In terms of college, would an 18-year-old boy say, yeah, I'm going to go play for a woman? The issue wasn't Pat Summitt. She could have absolutely coached a men's team. No question. Would men go to play for a woman? How would men react to her? I think there's a portion of this. How are you going to react? Oh, yeah, college guy. You go on a 10-game losing streak, which you're going to happen. You're going to have a losing streak. How many of these guys who are jaded, been around for a while, they've lost enough to where they don't really give the maximum effort? How quick are they going to be, yeah, okay, whatever, coach, and they dial you out? I don't know. But again, that's like the Summitt thing. The question wasn't her. The question is, would people have listened to her and played for her? Same thing here. I don't think it's him. I think it's how these guys react to him. And on that same note, I saw Major League Baseball had a report yesterday. It was an anonymous executive. Did you see that? I'm sure you saw this. I guess 2 days ago. The executive said that they had some dealings with Tony Vitello, and they said he needs to be humbled. That was the remark about Tony Vitello. He's got an ego. He needs to be humbled. There's a little of the Caitlin Clark thing. Caitlin Clark is the best thing to happen to the WNBA. She's making money for these players. It's remarkable, though, how many of the players don't like her because, oh, yeah, she's Little Miss Special. So she gets the occasional elbow. She doesn't get the big love that everybody – the fans love her, so that makes them – I think there's going to be some of that. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be some people who look at it, just like there are ACC college coaches right now who are sticking it to Bill Belichick. Oh, you think you could just come in here from the pros and walk in and you can do fine. I think you're going to get some of that in reverse. You think you can come from Knoxville and come coach in New York and beat us in Dodger Stadium and go win in Wrigley. You think you can do it? He's going to face some of that. But again, all of it, in my opinion, the things that are going to make or break him, a lot of it is going to be external, not really internal. He's just got to hit the ground running. And if he does that, then it may take care of some of that other stuff. But it's very much how people are going to react to this college guy doing his motivational skills in the major league level.
Yeah, I don't doubt for a second that's going to be the case. And you never know, because the guy that's really enjoying the opportunity to hang 40, 50, or 60 on Carolina right now, and Bill Belichick might have grown up as a Jets or a Dolphins fan. And it's kind of like, oh, I can't stand that man. I can't stand that team. And this could be somebody, who knows, maybe it's a Vandy grad, or maybe it's an LSU, somebody who that's the ties. And it could also tie to, wow, this brash Tennessee team that just jumped on the sport with both feet in 2021, and then even more so in 2022, I just didn't like the way they approached it. It's interesting to me that so many people had the same opinion about the 2024 Tennessee baseball team that was so remarkably different in terms of their approach to the game. I mean, that was a team that, while they were ready for a scrap, if that's what you wanted, they weren't the ones that sought it out.
Right.
But there were still those that were saying, no, 2022, this team is still the same. It's because they take after their coach, and they just already said the jury's in, the verdict's in. So I just think, yes, there's absolutely. But I will say this. I think, one, he uses that as fuel. And I think also that is something that I think at the end of the day, it's water off a duck's back, because he has a firm belief in what his approach is and how he goes to improve a player that he needs to be better at the plate, or somebody who's really starting to struggle defensively. It's the way that you work with the individual. And I think it's as much what he does to reshape somebody's faith and belief in themselves that's as important as the game that he's out there willing to instruct, because he did coach pitchers while he was at Missouri. He did coach hitters as well. He's been the guy that's made that call.
Yeah.
So, but what he's also always done is he has identified people that can help him win. Frank Anderson was the first hire that he made as Tennessee's head coach, and he's been here ever since. And look what he's meant to pitching. I mean, he's National Pitching Coach of the Year at least once, and he's been close to it another time. And so I just think he identifies people that fall in line with exactly what he sees can all come together and give a team a winning recipe. And I think not only does he identify those people, finds a way to hire them, and he lets them work. He lets them do their job.
Last question, question 5. This is kind of a fun one. I give you 3 options as to how fans may go. All right. I think there'll be people in each category.
Yes.
You tell me which will be the majority population. All right. 1, Vol fans pull for Tony Vitello to win at San Francisco. All right. He's our guy. Pull for him. Love Tony. 2, Vol fans pull against the Giants for stealing their coach. Nothing against Tony, but screw the Giants for coming and getting our guy. Number 3, Vol fans pull against Vitello in the hopes of getting him back someday. Oh, I hope he washes out so we can bring him back. There may be another group, which is the people who, anybody that leaves, they get mad at, and I'm pulling against you because you don't love the Vols enough. But any of those different options, what do you think is the number one group?
I would go in the order in which that you presented them.
Okay.
I do believe, because for most, they're not the ones that are so vocal when it comes to either going out and hanging out with their crowd or getting on social media and just letting their life be on full display.
The great silent majority
Yes.
that aren't. Yeah, this is the rational group.
They love what Tony did for Tennessee baseball, love what Tony did for the university, and so it's going to be like, God bless him, thank you, and go Giants. I think that's going to be the vast majority. Yeah. And then I do think the second one will be, gosh, I can't stand the Giants. We would have Tony Vitello if it weren't for them.
Yeah.
I think it's the Mets that you should blame, because if they don't trade Drew Gilbert to San Francisco, they don't see this huge infusion of energy in the dugout. So I think blame the Mets would be the best one. Yeah. But anyhow, I would go with that one. To heck with the Giants. They stole our coach. And then the last one, I think, would be, because I don't think that is the greatest I don't think that's the greatest expectation. That even, because one, you don't want your team to fail, that if he becomes available and it doesn't go well for him in the major leagues, that all of a sudden you need a new coach 2 or 3 years down the road. You don't want the petition madness. And I also think
that's where I think it is.
And I also think this, when all is said and done, I think that there is a chance, and I could be so far off on this, just as you did your forecast with Bruce Pearl. I think as hard as he chased it at the University of Tennessee for 8 years and putting class after class together, and if this doesn't work, then it might be television would be the next move for Tony Vitello, because you would have climbed to the mountaintop in college baseball. You would have gotten the opportunity, as Nick Saban did, to go to the NFL. Didn't work for Nick. And if it doesn't work for Tony Vitello, he's going to have a wealth of options.
Which he's already done TV.
And he's so good at it. Yeah. So I just think that if this doesn't work out the way that all parties involved with the Giants and Tony want it to, then I think that his next move might be to the booth.
Thanks to John Wilkerson. Appreciate it. Love getting your insights. Thanks to you for watching. Be sure to click the thumbs up if you like this. Hit the subscribe button so you'll get more videos like this. Look, I don't do a lot of just staring at the camera wearing a headset. I like conversations. And that's what this channel is going to be. And we thank Games and Things for bringing it to you. The Games and Things Arena. Again, check out ourgameroom.com if you want any of the kind of stuff you see here or more. And then thanks, of course, to Hearthside Bank for bringing you the Sports Source Digital Network. We'll see you next time.